everyone. I apologize that Thursday's video is not being uploaded till today. There was a delay with YouTube, so I wasn't able to upload it yesterday, but fortunately it'll be uploaded today, and so will this video for Monday. And for this particular Classic Movie Monday, I thought it would be interesting to briefly address the film To Kill a Mockingbird. Yes, this 1962 classic is really well received and has been recognized as one of those traditional American films. I think it's definitely worth exploring here and sort of discussing what it's about and ultimately what I ended up taking away from the story as well as the film, since this is based on a famous book. So basically, the story revolves around two children, in particular Jean Louise Scott Finch and her brother Jem. And basically, through the beginning of the film, it sort of explores more of their childhood sort of playing together and sort of how they develop their own understanding of the world. In particular, they discover that there is this supposed man that lives in a house that never ultimately comes out, named Arthur Boone Radley, and there's a lot of legend sort of surrounding this person, and you'll see how that sort of figures in within the plot. But largely, the plot follows Atticus, who is the father of the children, and he is a lawyer who is a widow man, I guess you could say. I don't know if there's gender terms for for a widow or not, but he no longer has a wife, and he ends up defending a lot of people who don't have a lot of money or resources to provide him. But regardless, he still defends them. And ultimately, the movie focuses primarily on one case in particular that he handles, which is a case that involves an accusation of rape. And he ends up defending the accused, whose name is Tom Robinson, of this. And largely, this is supposed to sort of reflect sort of the era, since this takes place relatively in like the 1930s, and also the fact that it takes place within the South. And you do see sort of those kinds of dynamics coming in, especially considering the fact that Tom Robinson is an African American. So there is a lot of tension that sort of surfaces as a result of this trial. And it really does sort of impact the plot thematically, because we really do see Atticus being a person of great moral standing, especially when he is defending Tom Robinson. I think those scenes in particular of the courtroom really are highlighted well within this film. And I think Atticus presents a strong argument. You could argue maybe even a stronger argument, but you'll see how these sorts of politics, though, play into the story, though, as a result of the circumstances that the trial presents. So that's really a important thing to understand when it comes to this film. It's designed to be a film that focuses primarily on the understanding of right and wrong, and focusing on standing up for what ultimately should be the right outcome. And I think that's why it has such an American feel to it, especially with Atticus's character, because he is a very supportive and loyal father while also being a very effective lawyer, despite the fact that he's sort of undermined, especially when he primarily takes clients who are not of the highest of standing. So it really shows the true the true moral behind him being a lawyer, and that he wants to ultimately do what's right and not necessarily do, I guess, what other lawyers do. So I think that's just something that really works to the story's advantage. Um, and again, there's great acting, there's great characters, there's a nice little innocent story to go along with it, even though there's a lot of dark aspects that sort of surface once the plot sort of turns to being more about the trial. But despite that, I still feel that there is a lot of human elements within the film that make it stand out as one of the American greats. And I understand that this film is based upon a book, and I think the movie follows the book relatively closely. If I'm not mistaken, I did read the book and we watched the movie in school, so you can kind of see where I'm coming from here when it comes to understanding this story. But I think largely it's not supposed to be, again, it's not as deep of a film as some other films, or as dark or as deranged, but it does offer something, I think, simple and wholesome. And I think that's something that I think a lot of people like to associate with Thanksgiving, the fact that it is sort of this wholesome holiday. It's all about thinking about other people, and I think this film really brings out those qualities, and does bring out this sense of appreciation for one another. So I think that's really at the heart of this film, and it executes itself, I think, fairly effectively, because we see how ultimately all of these elements coming together, from the characters, the story, the acting, it all just brings out the best of humanity. And we also see sort of the tragedy behind trying to achieve something good for humanity and having it sort of backfire in certain respects. And you'll see how this sort of plays out if you choose to watch the film. But I think that's really the heart and center of it. Again, it's not all that complicated. It's fairly straightforward. It's just about these two children and how ultimately their father ends up sort of, being the real hero to their lives, and as a result, we see how ultimately it sort of brings them closer together, sort of as a family, by having this sort of trial take place, and I think that's just something that's worthy to consider, because I think it is designed to be that kind of family film, because you can say that it is for children, because it's a little bit more light-hearted in that it focuses on the children at times, and sort of their experiences and their sort of mischief. But even though there is some dark undertones, I think largely this film can appeal to, again, both children and to adults. But I think, again, it's not as, graphic or as violent or as sinister as some other films are. So I think it does work in that respect, in being something adult while also being something for children. And usually live action films, it's very hard for movies to sort of bridge that gap, and I think this film sort of bridges that gap fairly well. But ultimately, I think that's really all I can say about To Kill a Mockingbird. Again, if there are any questions, comments, concerns, I'd be more than happy to answer them. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have a great day, week, month, and year. And I hope to see you all in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.